Hey everybody, it's Eric, and thanks for checking out another HatchetCast episode, and thank you for watching the channel. If you're watching on Spotify, you're obviously able to see this right away. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Same on Spotify, I guess. Definitely subscribe, follow the channel there. But it's awesome to have you guys here. One of the big things that we try to do on this channel, for those who are new to the channel that don't really know what the podcast is about, we usually talk about a current event or a conspiracy theory or a bunch of news type stuff and our opinions on them. We talk about gun industry things, so things within the industry and the training world. And then we also talk about scripture, and we talk about the Lord and Jesus and how he has essentially provided us hope and freedom in his love. So we try to utilize this podcast to kind of keep you up to date, but also to bring you hope and comfort in knowing that there is a Savior out there. So without further ado, Chris, welcome. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
I've missed it. So many of my fans have been asking, Chris, when's the new podcast dropping? They're clamoring, Eric.
Dude, I
hear me.
I recorded the last podcast.
I have a fan base.
By myself, and it was I was uncomfortable. Just by myself.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I never could quite get how people do that. Like, I can understand two people, you play off each other, you play off their jokes or whatever, their personalities, but that you just have one person
like Dan Bongingo or whatever.
Yeah.
Dan, isn't it Bongingo?
Yeah, no, it's Bongingo.
Bongingo. Is it?
No, it's Dan Bongino.
That's what I said. Dan Bongino.
Yeah, sure you did.
So speaking of people who can speak by themselves on camera, Alex Jones.
The Alex Jones.
What's going on with him? So can you give the rundown? Because I'm kind of out of the loop as far as like what the whole. I know he has not the January stuff, but the thing with Sandy Hook. I know he got.
Mm-hmm. So after the whole Sandy Hook thing, I think he got hit with obviously fees that he had to pay. I think it ended up being like billions of dollars or over $1 billion. They said he could pay it because that's the income that he was bringing in, but he was like, I don't make that money. Like, I don't make anywhere close to that money, but that's what they were going to get him for. And they were essentially going to garner his wages till he paid it back. But more recently, I guess through third parties, they were able to shut it down. And so he was on air and basically was like, I don't know, this could be the last InfoWars podcast or show, period. And then we're done. However, he had a court date, and so the judge granted him until, I believe it's June 11th, that he could still be on air. But after the trial, all of these lawyers came out and basically said, we're not necessarily worried about Alex Jones because we're going to shut him down. It's not about how much income he's receiving now. It's more about him not having a future platform. And so I'm sure that they're all George Soros DAs, people that are going after him. But so we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, I don't think it's the end of Alex Jones if InfoWars does get shut down. Somebody else will pick him up. He'll start a new show. He'll do something else.
He'll start a MySpace and literally have a web camera and make it popular again.
Yeah. On X, he's killing it.
Yeah.
He does spaces on X, and his whole breakdown when this was all happening, he basically emotionally broke down on air.
Wow.
About everything that was going on. And Alex Jones doesn't usually cry. And it was interesting that he was just like bawling his eyes out on air saying, obviously they're coming to get me, but I really feel like this is the end of civilization as we know it, because we're going to be in a nuclear war. The poison shots, everything that's happening, he just seems almost to the point of unhinged, in my opinion, which he's usually calmed down a little bit more in recent years. Like, he used to go on like obvious giant tirades, like rampage, just yelling, screaming, and he's mellowed out, but he seems like he's got a spider tingling feeling of something on the horizon is about to happen that's going to fundamentally change everything, to the point where he's honestly debating whether to just shut down the show and just move to Montana or Wyoming and take his family and get out. Wow. So, but he is obviously wanting to stay on air to warn everyone about this, to wake people up, to continue to wake people up. But if he knows that something's 100% going to happen, his priority is obviously to his family, and, you know, he's just going to get out and save his family because there's no stopping it at that point in his mind.
So when are we going to Montana?
Whenever you want to go.
Dude, I feel like that's something that there has just been everybody has been like stressed. Like there's just so much stress and anxiety that is just, I feel like so many people that we know personally and even like famous people like are dealing with anxiety and stress. Like, have you just kind of felt like that? Like it's just everybody's stressed out?
Yeah. I mean, you can ask Rachel, my wife, but last night I was stressed out.
Wow.
You know, just kind of angry and just like would kind of like just be angry at very simple stuff that shouldn't bother me. And clearly like stress brings that, right? But it just seems like there's so many moving pieces in the world, you know, obviously with jobs and compounded stuff that people have going on in their own lives. Like all that stress just seems to, you know, rear its ugly head in people's personal lives. So
Wow.
I feel it for sure.
Man, Alex Jones, dude.
But he seems unhinged to me.
Like he's just broke.
Yeah, he's like just a broken guy. Like he's just like there's no stopping it anymore. It's going to happen. I've done my best. I've warned you all. I've been saying this for 28 years on air. Like, and his goal is to become obsolete. So he doesn't want to be the only Alex Jones. If he's the only Alex Jones, he's failed.
Yeah.
He wants other people to take on what he's talking about, and other people have. You know, your Tucker Carlson's. I think Joe Rogan's fully waking up to all this stuff, and so other people are speaking out. But his goal was never just to be a standalone guy. His goal was always to duplicate himself where someone else can do this, and he doesn't have to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is that he went from, you know, conspiracy theorist to now he's just a dime a dozen. Like it's just, everything is just, no, it's just normal now. Like the crazy things that we were like, no way, there's no way that could happen is now like, yeah, the crazy is reality now.
The frogs aren't gay.
Yeah.
But they are the same sex from the AZT in the water.
Yes.
And so, yeah, like, has Alex Jones been right 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Obviously, he was wrong on Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
Or at least according to these lawyers. But
yeah, according to the lawyers.
Yeah.
According to the lawyers, there's a lot of rabbit holes around that and conspiracy theories around that. But, you know, he's spouted off a lot of stuff that he's no doubt been wrong about. But all the major stuff, you know, the globalist kind of playbook, he's been 100% right about a lot. Like, think about, he was the only guy that predicted 9/11. Do you remember that?
No.
You ever see, like, his video? Like, on air, he's predicting 9/11 in the summer of 2001, right? 9/11 happens in September of 2001. And he's on air, and he's basically saying, like, I feel like they're going to get us into a war in Afghanistan, and they're gonna blame an Osama bin Laden about a remote controlled jet crashing into the World Trade Center. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was talking about that. Nobody said anything about that. No one predicted that. Like, he was the only guy. And then 2 months later, it happens down to the T. Like, it's almost prophetic in a way. Like, he's seeing into the future.
Have you seen the things about the 9/11 with Building 7 and how, like, it is essentially impossible for that building to have just, they say it was like liquid jet fuel and all this stuff that melted the beams. It is impossible. It is like, and I've seen like videos of like engineers, like structural engineers, and even people who built the World Trade Center being like, that is impossible. Like, and on Building 7, I think it's Building 7, right?
Yep, Building 7.
And so you could literally see, I saw a video of an angle of it when it collapsed. You could see explosions inside the window. You're like, do, and it just dropped straight down.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Pre-laid explosives inside those buildings.
Yeah. Well, even at the time when 9/11 happened, everyone just believed the story.
Yeah.
You know, even after that, Alex Jones was still the only one saying that they did this on purpose. This is a total false flag, which if you remember in 2001, if you said that when everyone was coming together and everyone was patriotic, rah America, and you said that it was our own government that did that, you would be a pariah.
Yeah.
You were for like the next decade after.
Oh, yeah, not even like during the wars. Like you would have been labeled crazy for decades.
Wow.
Which he was too.
Yeah. The frogs are gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it's something where there's so much that they are doing behind the scenes that, like, I don't know what to believe. There was a crazy conspiracy theory that I actually saw on X. Do you know that what's that dude, the Prince Charles or a King? He's King Charles now, right? Have you seen his portrait of that demon portrait,
gosh.
the Baphomet?
Oh my gosh.
That's the one Alex Jones, didn't he say he could see Satan in it?
Yeah. If you superimpose it, and I think if you cut it in half and put it on top of each other,
It's Baphomet. You can see it.
100%. Yeah.
And what the conspiracy theory is the royal palace just made an announcement that Queen Princess, not Queen Elizabeth, Princess
Diana.
No, the other one, Princess Katie,
Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton. They said that she is not coming out in public for the rest of 2024.
She's the one who was diagnosed with cancer?
Yeah. Diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, you don't believe
She's
that?
been going on this for 2 years. She didn't come out almost at all last year. And then, so almost a whole year. And then this year, they said that she may not even make a public appearance in 2024. And what's crazy is people have been saying, and they have also had AI scan images of, the royal family, putting out pictures of them with like a group photo and stuff like that. And it's Photoshopped.
Oh, it's clearly Photoshopped?
Well, the AI died like, this is not a real photo. Like you could see like it broke apart how it was all Photoshopped in there. And then the last time that she came out in public, she had on a red dress that was from this movie. It was like an old movie from the 70s, and it was like a very specific red dress with this white lace type thing on it. And the premise of the movie was it was this woman, and she was, in a royal family, and she was pregnant. And then she ends up having a miscarriage, and she doesn't know how this happened. But essentially, they stole her baby to use for a demonic sacrifice. And she wore that dress from the movie in the last appearance that she had. So
you're thinking she dead?
The conspiracy theory is that she's dead. And also, even to add on to that her blood was used to paint the painting of King Charles. Because if you look at
someone kill their own family blood,
why'd they kill Princess Diana?
No, someone took a picture of that in a tunnel, and she lost control of the vehicle. That's already been said and done. There's already been an open and closed investigation of that.
Kate Middleton's not blood though. She's married in, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she was married
outside of the family.
She's a means to an end.
So what about Meghan Markle though? She's outside.
She's part of the agenda though. She's playing along with it 100%. She's she's in lockstep.
But she's the first one that was like a mixed race.
Yeah. I think she's Hispanic or something, or I don't know what. But I know she's an American lawyer. She went to law school.
Yeah, but you don't think she's part of it, and she's going to get sacrificed as well.
I don't know, but that's what I think. Is people. The conspiracy theory is that she was sacrificed and that her blood was used to paint the painting. And if you look at the tones of red in that painting, it looks very similar to like blood in different stages of coagulation.
Even without all that, the painting is in poor taste. In my
opinion. Is atrocious looking.
Yeah.
Can you imagine me like, man, this looks great. Yeah, I like it. I'm done. And no.
Maybe it was Bob Ross who painted it.
Nah, Bob Ross is a saint, man.
Yeah, he would never be a part of that evil.
Yeah, I didn't see any happy little trees in
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, whoever painted it is probably demonic.
Oh, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
I think...
doing a little spiritual cooking on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a hobby. Just dabbling.
I mean, that's just... Cooking. But the crazy thing is that doesn't seem crazy to me. I could fully expect that to be a reality.
Yeah, when you're lied to all the time, yeah.
Yeah. And then it gets exposed all the time. Just like Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Have you kept along with his trial and his case?
Yeah, I have, unfortunately. I don't know. Like, you feel like you have to pay attention to it, but it's just, you pay attention to it just because it's never happened in history.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people argue that that's a constitutional, what is it? What is the word called? It's a constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
Because it's never happened before. So you have potentially someone running from prison, or could be running from prison.
How many counts of felony? How many felony counts?
34 counts.
34. Guess how many the most notorious criminal in United States history had? How many felony counts the most notorious criminal in United States history had?
I don't know, but I can't wait to hear the number.
You know who it is? Who's the most notorious criminal in American
Al
history?
Capone?
Al Capone. Guess how many felony counts he had?
It's like 1.
24. Donald Trump has 10 more felony counts than Al Capone, dude.
Sick.
What in the world? Like, dude, it's completely backfiring. So one of the things I saw about this is that he had a fundraiser. There was actually a limit. Like, there's only a limit that you could donate per person. They crashed the website.
Yeah, but that means, so
It
to
is
me,
the
that shows
most
that
amount of money raised in U.S. history for a presidential candidate in 24 hours.
right, but it also shows that they don't care. They don't care.
That's true.
They don't care.
Well, I mean,
raise
yeah.
$1 billion.
It doesn't matter,
Raise
yeah.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Like, raise all the money you want. It's not going to make a difference.
Because the campaign's not going to work. It's not-
Exactly, and that's the alarming part. That's the scary part. You know what Democrats are doing?
Yeah.
200 million in one day. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't give a rip, dude. Biden is dilapidated, can't talk, and they're not course correcting because they don't care. Like, that's the alarming part.
Are you trying to say that the elections were rigged, Chris?
Which ones?
The Nigerian ones, of course.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because they're
We
basically
are
third-world countries.
officially a third world country.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have said that Trump was going to prison if they would have, gotten some of the charges, but they got all 34. So now I'm thinking, if they want all 34, and it's up to one person, it's up to one corrupt judge who can just say, yeah, I'm going to sentence you to 18 months in prison.
So the craziness is the level of corruption that this judge has. First off, he was, I think he was a federal judge or came from not the Supreme Court, but he essentially took a downgrade to be able to be the judge in New York for Trump's trial. His daughter is a part of the DNC.
Yeah.
And the club and the donation parties that she's in donates to Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that, too.
And she also was granted, her and her friends in that organization were granted seats in the trial.
Yeah.
To watch it.
Gosh.
Dude, it's
Purely political. I mean, even CNN is coming out and was like,
this is trash.
Yeah,
this is trash.
You're stretching it a bit.
Yeah. And what's crazy to me is the fact that also not only is the judge corrupt, but the rules for the jury. I actually saw this on CNN and MSNBC,
Just
which is
pick one.
insane.
Who cares?
The rules for the jury was 53 or 54 pages long, and usually the jury gets a copy of the rules, so that way they can look at it as they're doing their jury duties. They can look at the rules and make sure they're not breaking any rules and they're following by the rules that the judge has already appointed. The judge refused to give them a copy of the rules, and he sat in court and read all 54 pages and told them to take notes. And they had to come in the next day and made no decision because they said, hey, we need you to read pages 7 to 54 over again because we have no clue what the rules are.
Right.
So this jury is being denied copies of the rules that the judge has made. It is like comical, the level of corruption.
Oh, yeah.
It is comical.
Yeah, it's comical. The statute of limitations on that ended in 2019. They extended the statute of limitations. Normally, this would be a misdemeanor, but they combine the charges together to make it a felony.
If there's even evidence that he even did anything.
Yeah, right. So what he did is he allocated funds to something and didn't label it correctly, but it was a payment to Stormy Daniels, a hush money payment, and he didn't label it correctly. Like he labeled it as like a business expense or something like that. How else is the guy supposed to label it? Like my whore money.
Stormy Daniels
money.
porn star money.
Yeah, and also they're blaming him, but his financial advisor or his person who's keeping his books, the lawyer who's
stealing money from him,
is stealing their main critical witness to the whole case. Admitted they stole money from him. So it's like it's purely political, and if you want proof that it's purely political, just take a look at the Hunter Biden case that's happening right now in comparison to the Trump case.
Which that is not getting any coverage at all.
It's not getting any coverage, but not only that, there's jurors that know Jill Biden in the jury. So the prosecution has no say in the selection of the jury process, which is what they're supposed to have, right? You have the prosecution who has say in jurors, and then you also has the defense. They can have a say in which jurors are going to be in, so it's obviously non-biased. Well, they're just going to pick the ones that are going to be on their side, and it's an open and shut case before it even begins.
Did you see the Tucker Carlson interview with the diplomat guy? I can't remember who, as he's a UN diplomat. He was a diplomat for the U.S. government for a long time. He's a professor at Harvard talking about, I think he specifically specializes in foreign policy and foreign relations and diplomacy. Mm-hmm. And essentially, he is saying, like, we do not run the country anymore. The country it is run by neocons. It's all one party, the Republican and the Democrat side. It is one party, and they are literally obsessed with war and power and money. And so, like, all of this now is coming. I think it's just showing how long this has been going on, and the level of exposure that it's getting is so massive because of the internet that, like, it's still like business as usual. We just get to see it, and it's in our face, and there's no longer it's not the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's exactly what Alex Jones has been saying from the get-go. So the fact that we're getting these other people finally chiming in and confirming what he has been saying.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in this trial, again, him going to jail, not a big deal. I mean, he's going to live a better lifestyle in jail. He'll be just fine on the other side of this no matter what.
Yeah.
But he'll live a better lifestyle in jail than 90% of Americans live on a day-to-day basis.
Can you imagine, though, Trump hanging out with felons like,
yeah, but he won't be. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's going to be, and it's going to be like a country club.
He'll probably be getting autographs from all the autographs from all the prison guards and everybody.
And then, but like Chris said, the big thing about this is if they can just steamroll, a once sitting president who is the front runner for the Republican Party in an election year.
Well,
does anybody think as a civilian, as just a lowly person in this country anymore, that you're going to get a fair trial?
No.
It doesn't matter how small the charge.
Well, dude,
since
this has happened, from now on, from this point forward, there will be no longer a presidential candidate that loses and doesn't go to prison. Mm-hmm. Like, this will happen. If Trump goes into the office, let's just say he gets the presidency, Joe Biden's going to prison. Mm-hmm. Like, he will use the Justice Department to go after him.
Right.
If Joe Biden wins, Trump's going to prison. So after this, from here on out, it is now going to be where political sides and rivals are going to be using the Justice Department as a weapon to put their political opponents in prison. This is a third world country.
Why don't we just jump straight to people having heart attacks and falling out of the seventh floor of a building, out of windows?
Yeah. I don't know, dude.
That happens a lot in Russia.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's going to get to that point. Tim Pool has a perfect analogy of how it's going to be with the election, right? You have two different people, both sides, think they've been wronged, right? Think of the two political parties. They both drive up to a police station. They both get out of the car. They point at each other with their fingers, and they say, he did it. I'm reporting the crime. That's how the election is going to be. Doesn't matter who wins. The other side is going to say, you cheated. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's the way forward? What happens now? Like, once the election happens, what happens now? I have literally no answer.
No one can predict it. And any show that I listen to or any commentator is like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no freaking clue. It's not going to be normal.
Wait. I've been trying to get back to normal since 2020.
Yeah, right. Well,
Chris,
nice try.
You're the history buff, Chris. throughout
I
history.
know that's the past, Seth. That's not the
throughout
future.
history, what has happened?
No, you're not understanding. That's the past.
It's never happened.
Can't predict it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's get in them. Let's gun it to 88 and just go to November 2024 and find out.
No,
what happens.
seriously. I mean, would you compare it to Rome? What happened when the Caesars finally stopped being political and just like, well, we'll just wage war to figure out, we'll take it by power. And then that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, well, not only that, but you had just like turnover of emperors because they kept getting assassinated, right? Because you had the corruption.
Mm-hmm.
One emperor would get assassinated, another one would take over. Their borders were wide open because they expanded way too far. So they were basically hiring mercenaries to do their fighting for them.
So not relatable at all to America.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Hey!
In Mexico, did you hear about they got a new president? And the cartel and a bunch of assassins killed, I think it was like 100. It was the most amount of political rival candidates that were assassinated ever in Mexican history. It was like over 100 candidates were assassinated leading up to this
Would that
election.
be the cartels?
I don't know. Maybe they're getting paid. I mean, if George Soros is funding all of this and they have a specific person they want in power, especially in these third world nations, you're gone. Like, that person will become empowered. Like, Mexico doesn't seem like it's got all of the corruption out of the system.
It's crazy. I mean, that's all. We've talked about it before, but that's a whole nother thing with the border and people going through Mexico, just like one after another, fighting age male, fighting age male, fighting age male, fighting age male. What country are you from? India, China, Pakistan, Iran.
I just want to check out some of these military bases.
Yeah, dude, there's been a ton of them that have been going over there.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Trying to break into military bases. They've had...
Really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Trying to penetrate
In the United
these
States?
bases.
In the United States, they will...
Not this country.
Yeah, you're such a toad. Friggin'. Well, speaking of corruption, did you watch the Fauci trial?
I saw that.
Somebody else who cried on television.
Yeah, right. I saw the trial and well, not the whole thing, but I saw some of the question and answers in the trial. And he's probably going to get off scot-free.
Oh, yeah. Did you see what Cat Turd said on X? He says,
I love Cat
yeah,
Turd.
he's like, I think it was Cat Turd. He was like, stop doing these hearings where nothing
happens. They're show trials.
Yeah.
It's show trials for him, and it's also a show trial for the people that are grandstanding, asking the questions to get their 2 minutes of spotlight. Oh, yeah, I attacked Fauci. I held his feet to the fire. Reelect me.
What can they do? Like, honestly, at this point, I'm like, what can Congress do anymore? Like, what power do they really have? Like,
Yeah, nothing.
I don't even know. Like, I really don't know what you guys do.
I'm pretty sure they can bring information forward, and then it's up to the Justice Department to actually do legal action. But the Justice Department is run by anyone? Biden, Merrick Garland. Do you think he's actually gonna?
The server's not under pressure.
Yeah.
My butt's been wiped.
My butt's been wiped. Yeah, he walked up to a reporter and literally said, "My butt's been wiped." Think about that. Want everyone to really think hard and long about that.
Sounds perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Dude, every time I see him, it looks like he's like this.
His face is so stretched back. Like
The aid
I don't know
package to Gaza is the boats. Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm getting tired watching you.
America can be summed up with one word.
In the foothills of the Himalayas.
It's like me trying to pronounce acetaminophen.
Yeah, it's a bit of
True not enough pressure.
No.
Dude, it was just super. Anyways, but the one thing that was hilarious in the Fauci trial was there was a dude sitting behind Fauci.
Oh
that
yeah, he was just trolling.
He was just like, yeah, as he's crying. Dude,
Yeah.
I was like, that's perfect.
I heard that guy was a J6er, which is
Oh,
why
was
he
he
was
really?
there. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
making
hilarious.
faces at that guy. But-
Why was he there? Because he was a January 6th.
Yeah, he should still
was
be in
his
jail.
trial next? After?
Yeah.
Just waiting. Whenever you guys wrap this up,
I'm
I'm
just
next.
next.
Yeah. Don't mind me.
Yeah. But no, like to answer your question, I don't think they can do anything. Like again, I think that they can ask questions, but they can't prosecute anyone. You know what I mean? They can just bring light the information that needs to be brought to light, but it's the Justice Department, it's the executive branch that actually enforces the law.
Yeah.
Which the executive branch is run by Biden. And Merrick Garland is, what is he? The AG, Attorney General, who actually enforces the law. So it's like, you think he's going to really do that? No, he's busy locking people up for January 6th.
Dude, you know what's crazy is it's like, it's all this decay that's happening behind the scenes within the government system itself. And at the same time, we are flirting with nuclear war with Russia and trying to beat our chest and be like, yeah, well, you know, NATO and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, what are we doing? We are degrading ourselves from the inside and trying to get into a war. It's like we're burning a fuse at both ends.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, you would feel like, let's beef up our country. Like, I mean, Nazi Germany. They literally beefed up their entire military and then their country, and then they got into a war. Japan did the same thing. Any other country that makes sense that you would just beef up your economy, you'd beef up your country, and then once the economy is going so much that it's consuming so much that you need to conquest, and you continue to, but you go in it with strength. We are literally at our weakest.
Yeah.
And it's like the dude who used to be a bully in like grade school, and then, you know, was beating on this kid, and then they both grow up to be adults. The kid that got bullied became an MMA fighter, and the other dude was like a fat slob, and he still thinks he can try and bully the MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And he gets clocked in the mouth.
Yeah.
And everybody cheers because they don't like the bully.
That's thinking, though, that the ultimate goal is to come out the victor. But
Ooh.
let's just say, what if your goal was to run this country into the ground
And destroy it.
and destroy it? We're right on track.
Over Donald. This all started with Donald Trump winning when he shouldn't have won, and he barely like pushed against the system, like tapped you a little bit, and now they're just going after it so hard.
Yeah.
They're going after him so hard. They don't
making a
want
statement.
anyone. Yeah, they're making a statement. They don't want anyone touching their ability to do whatever it is that they want to do. Create war, make money off of it, hide their corruption like they always have.
How are you going to enjoy the money that you make when the world is a smoldering, toxic crater?
You build bunkers, which is what these billionaires are doing. Bill Gates.
But why?
We need to get on that, by the way.
I don't understand that. There has to
my
be. It
shovel.
has to be more than just money. It has to be something that is a doctrine or theology that they believe in so heavily that it is worth. Like, I'm going to go live in a bunker for 3 years, and it's worth it.
Well, talk to Alex Jones, because he's been saying this for 28 years.
I know.
He said this is their depopulation plan. Like, you cannot control the planet with 8 billion people or 7 billion people that are on it. It's just there's too many people. So you depopulate. You depopulate through the shots. You depopulate through war and major war.
Nuclear war.
Dude. Not only you knock out the population, but then it causes broken population to rely on the system for all of their needs.
The Putin issued out a very stern warning, and what's crazy is that this diplomat guy was like, hey, people tried calling Putin's bluff with Ukraine, and then he invaded Ukraine. Like, NATO is pushing the limits, and they're pushing the edge, and Putin's not a guy to bluff. Now, he'll play things smart. He understands, like this diplomat was saying, he's like, he understands the U.S., because he comes from the KGB and he understands the CIA, and he knows that the CIA runs America. And so he understands, he doesn't like it, but he understands it, right? But what's happening now is a complete degradation of everything, where he's like, are you really? It's like playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets and a 6-shooting gun.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, are you sure you want to play? And it's like, yeah, like, let's do it. You know, it's like, I will do it. I'm going to do it. I'm just double like asking you, are you sure?
If the CIA really ran the country, though, then we would have only started seeing a downfall of America since like the late 50s.
I don't think, well, that's what he talks about. He does, yeah. He talks about, it's a really good episode. It's on Tucker Carlson, and it's the one where he talks to that diplomat, but it will infuriate you.
Yeah.
And, but that goes, it's one of those things where what do you think will happen in the next 3 months? Like,
That's a literally impossible question.
dude, like,
There's so many scenarios. There's so many scenarios.
They're legitimately talking about NATO going to war with Russia, dude.
Yeah.
That's a nuclear conflict. That's a 100% nuclear conflict. They're talking about, in Russian TV, they were literally talking about how tactical nukes can be utilized, and they're even on the media, mainstream media here in the States are saying, oh, well, here, if we had a limited nuclear conflict, here's what it would look like. Limited nuclear conflict, meaning we're bringing the ideas and helping you get comfortable with the fact that some small tactical nukes might be going off here soon.
Yeah, it's literally like the movie Dr. Strangelove. Have you seen Dr. Strangelove?
No.
Doctor Who?
Dino droppings?
No, Dr. Strangelove is a movie that is basically a bunch of military leaders and the president talking about doing a first nuclear strike towards Russia in the middle of the Cold War. And you have the one guy who's the main general. He's kind of like the war hawk, was like, Mr. President, we need to do a first strike nuclear, task force on them right now. We need to drop the bombs right now so we can just eliminate them right off the bat so they don't have any sort of nuclear response back. Like, let's just strike first. And the president in the movie, and it's like the director is displaying how our leaders operate. The president is like, are you crazy? That's psychotic. Millions of people are going to die. But the general's like, what? But in the end, it's still going to be a win-win. We're going to lose some people, but we're going to come out on top. And he's like, no, that's psychotic. Like, you people are psychotic. You like, am I the only person that's thinking like, whoa, slow down a little bit. Like, let's talk about a solution out of this. Like, there's not one person talking about a solution of how can we de-escalate this in general. Nobody is. I'm not hearing a single person.
Do you, as a history teacher, what is the closest we've ever come to nuclear conflict? When?
The 13 days. It was the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Cuban Missile Crisis. Do you know what the Cuban Missile Crisis had in terms of that whole situation that we do not have right now?
Mutually assured destruction?
No. I mean, like, what happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis that is not happening right now with this nuclear crisis that we're having now?
Well, you have John F. Kennedy trying to de-escalate the situation.
How?
Well, he's saying how it got resolved was, we'll take our nukes out of Turkey, you take yours out of Cuba.
Yeah.
Fine, done.
The key is exactly what you said. There was communication with Russia and the United States.
Yep.
There has been zero communication with the United States and Russia.
Yeah.
We are not talking. And that's what, when that was watching that diplomat video, it blew my mind. That's the closest we've ever come to nuclear conflict. He says we have already surpassed the minutes to midnight right now.
Right.
Like, we are so close, and what's scary is that no one is talking to each other. Putin and the Russian government has been begging to get a hold and talk to somebody here in the States, and the States we're not answering the phone. We're saying, no, we will not talk to you.
Yeah, well, in the Tucker Carlson interview, Tucker was like, have you reached out to Biden? Have you talked to him? He's like, no, I haven't had any communication with him. Haven't talked to him, haven't seen him. Well, you can't really talk to him. He's decrepit, but
even like the the SecDef and like the military leaders, like, not talking to each other.
No.
There's no correspondence. And so we are escalating this through, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to shoot this, and then we're going to invade, and we're going to send F-16s, and we're going to do this, and that. Now it's like, yes, you can go ahead and use your weapons into Russia. Like, what are we doing?
Is there anybody competent in Biden's staff and his cabinet?
No, and that's by design. I think that that's like,
they're
just
puppets, they're pawns.
Sit in this office, play Minesweeper.
We'll tell you what to say.
We'll send you the
email.
email.
Up the agenda.
Yes, we'll send you. Here's the cards to read off of.
Here's your talking points.
Correct. Yeah.
Keep talking about democracy. We're trying to save democracy. Those are your buzzwords. Use those buzzwords as much as possible.
Dude, nobody listens to what they say. Like, nobody that I even know listens or watches mainstream news. The last time I watched mainstream media was I was at the hotel because my buddy Tyrone graduated seminary, and I was there for his graduation, and we stayed in a hotel with the family. and I went to go get breakfast, and I saw MSNBC on the TV. That's the last time I've seen mainstream media.
You just need to get out of your bubble, Eric, and
You need to open your mind.
Yeah, you need to be more inclusive.
Oh, gosh, dude.
You listen to those podcasters. Oh, evil guys.
What do you think, though? If you had to make a prediction in the next 2 months, let's just say 2 months, what do you predict could happen in the next 2 months? Realistically, based off the track that we're going.
You're talking about on the low end or like worst case scenario
Let's
end?
just go with in the middle.
In the middle. Okay. So in the middle, at the very least, you have cheating in the election. I think that's fair to say. Right?
In the next 2 months?
Well, okay. So in the next 2 months leading up to the election.
Yeah.
I think you'll have an escalation in the war because the same day that Trump was charged, they now gave permission for Ukraine to do missile strikes inside of Russia. Everyone missed that. And there was something going on with Taiwan, too. China did something else with Taiwan
So
the same day.
Right now, there's supposedly, well, China just announced that they are no longer at a point where they can settle the one China policy through diplomacy, which is a massive statement, which means diplomacy is off the table now. It's going to be a conflict. The question is when.
Yeah. So I think both of those fronts will escalate in the next 2 months, to answer your question, because they already have. And how could it not?
Yeah.
Because you got two sides that are determined not to have any sort of peace resolution, right? So, and then I don't think you'll see like a collapse of the dollar or financial. I think that's a little bit more gradual and slow. But I will predict I foresee some sort of false flag happening in the United States.
Really?
Just in the U.S.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
I mean, probably elsewhere, but I'm saying specifically in the United States.
How about in Israel?
Oh, what? Yeah. What do you think is
flag?
going to happen in Israel? Oh, they're talking about going to war with Lebanon. Did you hear about that?
Why?
I don't know. I think not Hamas, but what's the other one? Hezbollah.
Mm-hmm.
Hezbollah's in Lebanon.
What about Hasbro?
Hasbro.
Good toy maker.
Yeah, I was like, don't they make toys?
Hezbollah.
What is that? Is that freaking Transformers?
I don't know.
Battleship.
No.
I don't know. They make a lot of toys.
Yeah.
Do you remember KB Toys back in the 90s?
Oh, yeah.
It was in the mall.
Best toy store.
Yeah. Toys R Us was cool, but like you had KB Toys in the mall, and you're like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
They had like a Nintendo section.
Yeah. Toy stores are pretty much gone, right?
Yeah.
Just like Red Lobster.
Toys R Us was easy for your parents to say, no, we're not going there. But when you're in the mall and you're already passing it.
Yeah,
it's like, come on,
exactly.
let's go
Yeah,
see
you're
KB
already here.
Toys. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so what is it? The Jack Carr. Are you familiar with his
Yes.
books? So in his books, he had a theory through that fictional world that Russia would get a hold of Iranian plutonium, make a nuclear bomb, detonate it in Israel. Obviously, once the battle assessment was done, they'd be like, "Oh, this came from Iran."
Mm-hmm.
In his book, too, he also included the fact that America's already involved with Ukraine and Israel. We can't fight wars on more than two fronts.
Yeah.
It's stretched thin. So that would pull us into a war directly with Iran, freeze up Russia to do what they want to do, take Ukraine, and also China to take up.
So here's what's crazy.
Taiwan.
You know what I think about
ask that, or I bring that up because I'm like, that seems like such a simplistic way to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think though it would be Russia. That's the crazy thing. I think that we would.
I don't think it would matter. It could even be us.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I think the powers that be that don't have a country, that don't see borders or anything like that want a one world government, are they going to be the ones to? It's literally going to be like it's going to be like a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, I mean, you almost just have to destabilize the world enough to where people just beg for somebody to fix it. And if what that fix looks like is a world government, then people will.
I mean, we are seeing a destabilization of the West and a distrust of everything where borders aren't matter. They want to get rid of just like national pride. They want to get rid of, feeling a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Like that's why they're flooding all of these countries with all these illegal immigrants to get rid of the culture. And this is how you unite as to one world. Well, you don't even come from anywhere. Like those people left their country. They have no loyalties to that. They want to just exist and look out for themselves. So like you see where there's a destabilization of governments. There is a melting pot of all these countries being intermixed in terms of like cultures, and the culture of that country is dying away. It's literally going away. There is a, part of it where you're saying with the depopulation plan is just like making people literally infertile, or through their ideology, physically, surgically removing their ability to reproduce. So like, I think all of these things have like one common goal, and it's depopulation and it's one world government. I just don't know how fast it will go. And I think the nuclear phase of that is the fastest way to that end state. So
yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
But I just don't know if that'll happen before the election or after the election.
So that's the question.
I would think after. It makes more sense after. You can do more stuff internally before the election. Afterwards is you got 4 years in eternity.
Yeah.
Do you think that China will invade Taiwan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when.
They're saying June 11th.
Why are they saying June 11th?
Supposedly there was a whistleblower that came out of, I think, actually China that was saying that June 11th.
I think this is so crazy. Everything that's going on, and we have like dates, we have full battle plans like being broadcasted over the news. Like, Russia says in about five months they're going to commence bombing in Ukraine. It's like, why do we know this?
Yeah,
Why do they tell
we
it?
not know that?
Yeah. But you're supposed to keep it a secret.
Yeah, shouldn't all this be a little bit more covert?
Yeah.
Ladies and I'm no expert.
That's wild.
Maybe it's like the NFL, the Super Bowl, and they're just tired of like performing. They're like, we're just going to read the script out.
Yeah, I mean, or they just know nobody's going to do anything about it.
So let's imagine that there is a nuclear conflict and we start seeing smoldering wrecks of our societies that happen overnight. One of the things that I saw that was really fascinating, I met this dude he goes by the pseudonym NC Scout. He has he authored the book, The Gorilla's Guide to the Baofeng. And I could foresee radio comms being so important, even for like if there is a net control that was broadcasting out these types of podcasts or messages.
Chair is against the wall.
Yeah,
John has a long mustache.
yeah. My zipper is down.
My zipper is down. Wait, Eric, it is down. Just kidding.
The fly is open. And so like, but what he was talking about was he showed me a lot of crazy stuff about just comms and ways that you can send out traffic between, two individuals, and it can be done through analog radio, and it can also be very hard to intercept or decrypt. And it's super simple, but I think now more than ever, I'm like, dude, if you're going to get into like comms, man, like you just need to start learning it. And it might not be something that, you got to really be a nerd and have a passion for it to get into the neat weeds of it. You tried studying it for a little bit, and it was
very boring.
Yeah.
Very dry.
Just when you think you're getting a hold of it, and then you keep reading, and you're like, okay.
No, I don't have a hold of it.
Yeah. It's like eating a
hertz, the megahertz, the different waves.
It's like eating a sandy sandwich. But what was interesting is there are ways to now communicate that is feasible, that you can actually procure the equipment, and actually not for a really, not for a lot of money.
What type of equipment are we talking about?
So, you have your Baofengs, but I guess Baofeng has the Fang 152, and it's a 10-watt radio, and it looks like a military PRC 152. Yeah, it looks almost identical to that. But it's a 152 10-watt radio. He has like DMR radios, which are digital radios that are more expensive. But the Prick 152, which is 10 watts, was only like $70, and you can buy it on his website. And so he had actually we actually have a video that's coming out on YouTube on the main Barrel Hatchet channel. He took
available now to members.
For members, yes. Yeah. Thank you. And I think it's actually coming on the 17th of June. So after Taiwan's invasion. Yeah. So like he bought an On tablet from Walmart for $60. He plugs this app into it, which is in the book, The Gorilla's Guide to the Baofeng. He actually talks about how to do this and everything. So for $60 with a tablet, you're at $70 for the 10-watt radio, right? So we're at 100 and what? No one can do math here?
Yeah, you're the one.
You're
with
the
the
one
calculator
talking
watch.
about it.
Let me go ahead and put this in my calculator watch.
Beep, boop, bop.
So, all right, let's just say roughly like $120 plus the cable for it. He broadcast, he like texted a message to me. We're on the same frequency. It comes onto my tablet. We listen to it over the radio, and it sounds like dial-up. And it was a super short burst. You can send pictures to each other on this tablet, just having it connected to these radios. A standard.
Without the use of the internet, without the use of Wi-Fi.
In fact, actually, you need to turn the Wi-Fi off. You never download the app, or you never connect that tablet to the Wi-Fi or the web or any cell service or anything like that.
Think of the advantage you have over everyone else.
Everyone
if the
else.
internet goes down, like you would have, like that's,
You would have the ability to communicate. So
it's like
even
having a helicopter when no one can fly.
Yes.
Like you have.
that's what I'm saying. Like, dude,
you can send feet pic to your neighbor, two neighborhoods
Yeah,
away.
But
like,
imagine
basically nothing changes in my day-to-day life.
think about this though. You have your wife. She has her vehicle. You guys are separated for your jobs. She has a radio on the tablet, and then you train her and be like, "Hey, like if stuff happens, turn this on. It's already pre-programmed the frequency. Open up the app. Once you get kind of close to the house, send me a message and let me know that you're okay or where you're at." And it's a message that you can keep. Like with voice, one of the disadvantages of voice is sometimes it gets crackly. Sometimes you're like, wait, say again, what?
Right,
You know,
when it's analog. Yeah.
when it's analog. But if you're sending it over a tablet, like a text message, or texting a picture, like
That's wild.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And so, that was a big eye opener for me. Like, man, I need to really get smart on this stuff because I think it's super important.
Real quick, so just to cap out our current events and the current state of the world, Chris, I will pose this to you, and I want your honest opinion. Okay. Even if Biden were to come out tomorrow, okay, press conference, whatever, State of the Union address, and say, by the way, we're actually reptilian overlords. We've been here for thousands of years. We live in hollow earth, and we're going to basically take over the world. What do you think people's honest reaction would be, and do you think anything would really change?
That's a good point. I don't
think they
I
would.
don't think much.
They would
change.
they would deny it and say that the video's fake.
Yeah,
we would just
crazy.
be.
It's AI.
It would just be. We would be here the next week after on the podcast. Hey, did you hear Biden came out as a
That doesn't.
reptilian?
You know what people would say? You know what people's honest answer would be? How does that help me pay my rent?
Exactly.
How does that help me get my groceries?
But I don't even think they would be shocked or angry enough to do anything about it. They would just continue. Okay, well, you're right. How does this affect my life now?
Yeah.
So supposedly there is an occurrence that's been happening all over. It's all over the internet right now and on social media about people seeing on like mainstream media. They call it as they had some sort of scientific name for it.
Demon faces.
The demon faces, dude.
What?
So,
Demon faces.
No, that's not real.
dude, no, I'm serious. People are
You're lying.
on X
That's
and
false.
all of these things. They're saying there's tons of people reporting this. Like,
About to get
I'm
fact
watching
checked.
the news and I see the person's face morph into a demon face. So is
What?
it? Yeah.
Whose face? What people
Like
are you
just
talking?
general like news anchors or political figures and stuff like that. They like watching them on TV or watching them on social media. They'll be like, I don't know what and they actually came up with a medical term for this. And I'm like,
Who
are they
came
really
up with the
seeing-
term?
I don't know. I just saw it on X, dude.
Was it
on
Dr.
X. What's it
Anthony
called?
Fauci?
It's Latin, so it's prosopometamorphosis. CISA. I don't know.
What does that mean?
Well, did you hear also that the Vatican updated its laws or its rules for exorcism, and the Vatican has also said that there has been a massive spike in occurrences of exorcisms.
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty wild.
But is there a
Here's an-
correlation?
Here's an example. This is what a normal human face would be, and this is what they're seeing.
That looks like a reptilian, doesn't it? That looks reptilian. Has like the big wide mouth. The eyes start to kind of look a little reptilian.
I mean,
Is that from CNN?
That's from what was
Yeah.
it? That's on CNN, dude. What?
Send me that story, Seth.
I will. They're calling it obviously a condition.
Yeah.
So,
What?
Yeah.
What?
Read it, Seth. Read what the article says.
I'll let you read it.
Oh, cheese and rice.
Reading CNN.
All right, Chris, read CNN.
Hey, you're the one with the golden radio voice.
Classic pass the buck.
For 59-year-old Victor Shara, the terrifying symptoms began on a winter day in Nashville. I just woke up and was sitting on the couch watching TV when my roommate came into the room. And looking at him, I'm like, what am I seeing? Then his girlfriend walked in, and her face was the same, Shara told CNN. Each of the once familiar faces had a grotesque grimace, elongated eyes, and deeply etched scars. When turned to the side, pointy ears suddenly appeared, he said, much like those of Spock, the Vulcan first officer on the USS Enterprise in Star Trek, who needs no introduction. I tried to explain to my roommate what I was seeing, and he thought I was nuts. Then I went outside, and all the faces of people I saw were distorted and still are, Shara said. It's like staring at demons, he added. Imagine waking up one morning and suddenly everybody in the world looks like a creature in a horror movie. Shara has a rare condition called protometamorphosia, or PMO for short, in which parts of the faces or other people appear distorted in shape, texture, position, or color. Objects and other parts of a person's body, however, typically remain undisturbed. I helped create a computer-generated 2D picture of what I see in faces, but there's so much more to it, said Shara, speaking about research in his case that was published in the clinical pictures section of The Lancet Thursday. What people don't understand from a picture is that the distorted face is moving, contorting, talking to you, making facial gestures, he added. It does kind of distance me from other people a bit. I try not to let it because I know what it is. It's PMO. Yet I still feel like I'm not getting as close to people as I used to.
Because they're demons. Or lizard people.
All types of distortions, PMO, I'm going to try and say it, is different from face blindness, the condition shared by actor Brad Pitt, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, renowned neurologist Dr. Oliver Sacks, Sweden's Crown Princess Victoria, and perhaps as many as 1 in 50 people. In face blindness, faces are not distorted. Instead, the brain simply has trouble recognizing faces, even familiar faces, making nearly everyone a stranger. Yeah, it's almost like you can't see the details of their face.
So,
you know, they say people are strange when you're a stranger.
People are strange.
So one of the things that was wild, I've been looking a lot into like near-death experiences, and the people that have a hellish experience, like go to hell in these death experiences, they say that a lot of the creatures that are down there, the demons, are reptilian.
Mm-hmm. That's the one that you had sent. That guy was talking about, and that's exactly how he described it.
Yeah, literally like reptiles, like the slits with the eyes. They were yellow, like
and not to pass up on that story, Chris, because you're hearing about this for the first time.
Yeah,
you see how they made it seem like this is
totally
it's totally normal because he has a condition,
right?
And it's one guy. So the story I saw, apparently, this is multiple people are starting to report this, and this is a relatively new thing.
But he's seeing that not just on a news screen. He's seeing that with just people walking around.
Correct. That's what we're talking about.
I thought you were saying that news anchors on television, their face would just distort.
Well, I've heard people on X, I've seen people talking about it, and they said that they would see it when it was on TV.
Oh, like people on TV, like their face would like wig out and change briefly.
Now, the weird thing is that was already a thing 10 years ago. People were looking at different footages, and you'd see somebody's eye go to the side or like...
well, it reminds me of that plane. You remember that plane incident of that girl just screaming out, seeing she saw a demon?
There was another one. There was another one that happened.
That wasn't real?
No, she was saying, he's not real.
Yeah, right.
So there was another one that happened. Mm-hmm. Man, it popped up on social media, and it went down it was only like for a day. It went super viral, and then it was gone. But it was another guy. He was on a flight, and he was freaking out, pointing at somebody, and they tried turning the camera, and this one woman and the people around that guy were freaking out as well about this thing that was sitting in the seat next to the guy who originally freaked out. And they were like, "Oh my gosh!" Like pointing the camera at this guy, and he's like, not a human being. Like,
That's when you need to be a Christian and be at the ready and rebuke those things in the name of Jesus.
100%.
Not run away scared.
But the crazy thing is that they're in the physical.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They're physical beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, people need to rebuke that.
Yeah.
They do.
I agree.
We have authority in Jesus Christ.
We do.
So I want everyone to know that. I hope I can react that way. Not just like, oh my God, ah! Like chaos, like
my zipper's open.
Well, the same thing that we
Jesus
train
rebuke
for.
you.
You know what I mean? We train to be able to effectively do what we need to do. That's why we train. Like, that's what we should be doing as Christians. We should be understanding our spiritual authority.
Yeah.
Spiritual warfare.
Yep.
It's a real thing.
It is. Speaking of spiritual warfare, here's my caveat.
Segway.
Whatever. I don't even care anymore.
I'm going to buy you a Segway and name it Caveat.
Yeah. Have you heard the story of Mel's Hole?
Yeah, do you know? Tell us about
it was
Mel's Hole.
familiar, but yeah, tell us about
All right. So
Mel's infamous hole.
I'd like to hear more about Mel's Hole. Have you seen Mel's Hole?
I haven't. I have never had the pleasure.
You just heard of Mel's Hole.
I just heard of it. Actually, the first time I heard about it was on the Ninjas Are Butterflies podcast. You guys listen to that podcast?
Yes.
I do. It's just too hard to follow for me.
Yeah,
They're all
okay.
over
I'll
the
be
place.
fair. I listen to the shorts. Like
Yes, I love the shorts.
Yeah.
Yes, I love their podcast. But Mel's Hole, supposedly it's an urban legend. However, you actually told me about this on Google Maps that Ellensburg
blurred it.
They blurred it out.
They blurred it out, and there's tons of other interviews of people talking about this and people witnessing. Saying like, yeah, we used to go down there and just throw whatever in there. Like they threw a dog in there.
Are you serious? They threw a
Live
dog?
I don't know if it was alive or dead. I forget. But
That
they
dog
threw
is
a
probably
on
still
there.
falling.
Okay, so
This is the same one. They've thrown stuff in there and it's come back though too. But other stuff they throw in just keeps falling. Like it doesn't.
What do you mean it comes back?
well, let me read. Let me read
Bounces
it.
back out
No, it just appears back.
somewhere.
Let's,
right,
so
all right.
this is
It's very supernatural. This is a very supernatural thing, like unexplainable.
yeah. So, all right, Mel's Hole. According to an urban legend, they of course call it an urban legend.
Right.
Bottomless pit near Ellensburg, Washington. Claims about it were first made on the radio show Coast to Coast AM, love that show, 1997, by a guest calling himself Mel Waters. The legend of the bottomless hole started on February 21st, 1997, when a man identifying himself as Mel Waters appeared as a guest on Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Waters claimed that he owned rural property 9 miles west of Ellensburg in Kittitas County, Washington. Kittitas.
Nailed it.
That
Third time's a charm.
that contained a mysterious hole. According to Waters, the hole had an unknown depth. He claimed to have measured its depth using fishing line and a weight, although he still had not hit bottom by the time 80,000 feet of line had been used. That is a lot of fishing line. Like that's 80,000 feet. So he had probably like tie it on, send some more, tie it on, send some more.
So a mile's 5,280 feet. So 5,280 feet divided by 80, how many miles is that?
Don't ask me. I'm terrible at math.
160,000.
You want me to use my calculator watch?
Calculator.
Calculator?
Nailed it.
Calculator.
All right, so let's see. What'd you say it was?
So you said it was 80,000 feet?
Yeah.
So there's 5,280 feet in a mile. So 5,280 divided by, or 80,000.
80 divided by 5. That's
yeah, it's
what you
80
wanted.
divided by 5,280 feet.
40. No.
Jeez.
Is it?
Rain Man.
No. I'm just throwing out numbers.
Are you a retard?
15.
I'm the opposite of
15
Rain Man.
miles, dude.
That's
But that still didn't reach the bottom, though.
no.
So that's at least 15
That means they
miles.
just stopped.
Did you not listen? You call me a retard. It says bottomless.
Yeah, it says had not hit bottom by the
Bottomless.
time 80,000 feet of line had been used. He also claimed that his neighbor's dead dog had been seen alive sometime after it was thrown
dead
into the
dog.
hole. So essentially, they took a dead dog, they threw it into the hole, and it popped back alive on the porch of the neighbor.
This could be a hole to hell. And now that's demon dog.
That's crazy. So according to Waters, the hole's magical properties prompted U.S. federal agents to, U.S. federal agents to seize the land and fund his relocation to Australia. What? Waters made guest appearances in Bell's show on 97, 2000, and 2002. Read broadcasts of these appearances helped create what they can describe as a modern rural myth. Of course, they're going to say it's a myth. The exact location of the hole was unspecified, yet several people claim to have seen it, such as Gerald Osborne, known as the Red Elk.
Just look for a giant blurred area on Google Maps. The Washington area.
People
It is
go
supposedly
see
it's
it?
blurred out. People used to try and go see it, but you can't gain access to it. Supposedly, it is now government property.
Bet you it's a high UFO activity.
Oh, you know what? It makes sense now. It's government property. It's where all our tax dollars are going.
Yeah, they're just throwing it down the bottom of his hole.
Hoping it comes back like that.
Do we have
dog.
everyone's
Into my
taxes?
wallet.
All right. Back up the dump truck. Let's just pour it all in there.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, come on over here.
Maybe if I throw my dog Walter in there, he'll come back as a unicorn or something.
Don't you
Can you
dare,
imagine Walter
don't you
being
dare
in-
throw Walter in there.
What
I'll
what kind of
throw
dog
you
is
in there,
Walter?
Chris?
He is a Yorkie Karen Terrier mix.
Yeah.
So he's the ugliest, cutest dog you'll ever meet. He's got a severe underbite.
Oh god. Just looks like a toad.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
yeah. He lives in his own world. He's in his own black hole all the time.
He's in his own Walter's hole.
Yeah. His brain is just two marbles and is rattling around in his brain.
Oh gosh.
He looks like the dog from Benji.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Well, speaking of death, so I've been studying near-death experiences, and one of the things that's been really crazy about these near-death experiences is that I was watching a video, I sent it to Seth, and it was a video of a gang member in Chicago who actually got shot twice and murdered in broad daylight, dies, and has a hellish near-death experience. Now, he was dead.
So much so, he's a pastor now, right?
Yeah, he's a pastor.
Wow.
Yeah. So he can't. I don't.
Who specializes in spiritual warfare.
He can barely walk, but he's alive, and so I think he still has one of the bullets stuck in him. So, anyways, he has this hellish experience. He's the one that said that most of the creatures that he saw down there that were torturing people and doing all these horrendous things were reptilian looking. Now, there was other small ones. He said there was giants, like actual giants that were there, like 30-foot tall, human-looking giants, humanoid, that were also there.
The Nephilim.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy. And so, essentially, he knew when he died, and this is something that also on the Sean Ryan podcast, he just interviewed a guy, I think it's called Imagine Heaven. He's a pastor. He has studied near-death experiences for 28 years. And actually, for those who don't know, near-death experiences are actually like a medical journal documented item, right? So one of the things that he said is that when he went into the afterlife, into hell, and other people who went into heaven, they say that you have blended senses. Not like you become super hyper aware, and that hellish or heaven experience, that afterlife, when you leave your body, is more real than this life.
Yeah, right.
It is more real than this life. He said that the blended senses, almost like you can see smells. Or you can see something that you hear, like hear the sound is actually visible, and it's all there's colors that exist. There's in the heaven experiences, in the heaven realm, people experience goodness and love and beauty and colors, and just everything is more vibrant. Everything is just extra. But on the flip side of that coin, the hellish experience, they're saying that the pain is 10 times more intense. One of the things that he described is when he was getting burned. He says, imagine you ever had when you've been burned by a lighter and that initial feeling of the burn. That's how it was all the time.
Jeez.
Not the hey, I'm burning and it's freaking eventually goes away. It was the initial feeling of the burn, nonstop, all the time. It's brutal. Some of the stuff that he was saying, that he actually has PTSD from it. So he still has some trauma, even though he's got saved, he accepted Jesus, now he's a pastor. Jesus actually pulled him out of there. But what's crazy is that he said there's another near-death experience, that another guy, his testimony, and he essentially, I think, had a medical issue or whatever. He was super rich guy. he had a drug overdose. So he had dealt with this condition where he's always in a lot of pain. So he was taking pain meds, and he had like 10 cars, a plane, a yacht, like super rich guy. And he's walking along his fence line of his property, is feeling the onset of this pain coming back, takes the rest of his pain meds, forgetting that he had already taken them, ODs, and dies. But he's standing. Some people have a near-death experience where they go up to heaven and then go down to hell, or like they have that heaven, like just not in heaven, but like meet Jesus and they're having a life review, and then they go to hell. And what's crazy is he says that every single one of these near-death experiences that have that type of experience, it's never Jesus casting them down. It's like they end up convicting themselves, and Jesus is standing there with them. Does that make sense? No. So like they'll stand in the presence of God, and he's like, when you're when you're in heaven and you're standing before the Lord, you literally, if you are not saved and like, not a believer, not having that relationship with Jesus, it's like you feel like you're standing in muddy rags in front of a wedding. Like you just feel
you're not worthy.
You just feel not worthy. You feel like embarrassed. Like there's no, like, all the lies and the way that you cover things up, and people say like, "Hey, are you doing?" You're like, "Oh, I'm good." And it's like inside you're not. All that facade is stripped away. So it's just you and your bare like vulnerabilities, right? And so people are standing there in front of Jesus, and what's crazy is that you have knowledge of everything that you've ever done, everything that is going on. So like when people have this life review, it's not like you're watching 40 years of life.
Right.
It's like instantaneous, right? You like can see your entire life. And what's crazy is that people see also all the times that Jesus was attempting to have a relationship with them. So they would like physically see like all these different milestones in their life where someone would talk to them. They would hear something on the radio. They would go to church one time. A family member is trying to talk to them about Jesus. Like they would see all of these instances where they missed the opportunity that Jesus was actually trying to establish that connection.
Right.
And so there's actually this guy. He's standing before Jesus with Jesus, and he is just condemning himself. And Jesus is just standing there with him, almost as like a comfort. Like, and so he's condemning himself, and he almost like is like, I'm going there, but I'm putting myself there because I am not worthy.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. And there's even a scripture in the Bible where it talks about how Jesus is saying that they will condemn themselves. They will judge themselves.
Do you know what reference that is?
No, but I need to look it up. But so one of the other things, you mind looking that up, Seth? So one of the other things is that in this hellish experience, the guy that was killed in the gang shooting, he said that when he was looking at people, he said he could hear a massive amount of screams. Like it was like billions and billions and billions of people screaming, but he could hear them individually at the same time.
Wow.
He could individualize the screams. And the other thing is that he said that when he would look at somebody, he knew exactly their whole life. Like he would see someone being tormented, and he literally could see the reasons why they were there. Like he just knew it. Like their mind was open. And he said that, and both the hellish experience and the heaven experience, they both said that your personality, who you are as a person, doesn't change. You're the same person. You're just in a body or in a form that is stripped away from this earth. So like what he said, the guy who got shot and went down and had a hell experience, he said that as he's falling into this pit, so he's falling, and there's this overwhelming sense of fear, and he can start to hear these screams as he's falling down in this pit, and he sees a light at the very bottom, looked like a campfire off in the distance, and it was the coals, it was the rocks that were just white hot from the heat, right? And he's falling in there, and the screams get louder, and the heat, he said, was insane. The other thing that he said is that the smell alone was so bad, if you smelled it on the earth, it would kill you. That's how bad the smell was. And that a majority of the smells was not from the rotting people and stuff like that. It was from the beings. Like the beings emitted an odor that were so terrible, which is crazy because if you look at cryptids and you look at like Bigfoot experienced people or Bigfoot witnesses, Dogman, all of these cryptids, the Wendigo, they all said they have a terrible smell. Yeah. Like atrocious, like just terrible. Yeah. And so anyways, he gets down there and he said that it was just so vast, and that the demons that were down there, these demonic beings, were not like it was understood that they were torturing people and doing this stuff. Otherwise, they would be in that position, right? Like they had no choice. They were doing that, but at the same time, they also enjoyed it, and they were feeding off of the fear. They were feeding off of the pain, almost like it was food, like energy. And so, and the other thing that's crazy, he was mentioning that people that he saw, he identified kind of what they were known for, like what was their favorite sin, kind of like what was the sin that they committed the most, and were like, it was like the big reason why they're there. So you had all these small sins that they were there for, but like the big ones, like the people who are promiscuous sexually, like just like constantly having sex outside of marriage and just very promiscuous, or people who would gossip. He said there was a massive amount of people that were gossipers. Wow. And he could see their whole life as he's looking at them. So it's crazy to see that. But what is interesting is that he has an amazing testimony, dude. I almost am tempted to get a hold of him to see if he'll be willing to tell the testimony. It is extremely powerful, to the point that also towards the end of this hellish experience, when he felt like all the stuff he was experiencing was kind of muted, and so he was like being taken around to different parts of hell, and he was like, I feel like God was with me, because there was times where the beings would look at me and they could see me, but then they would kind of go back to what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? But I could still feel it. I could feel a lot of these painful things, but it was almost muted. Like it was not as bad as like what I was seeing people go through. Yeah. And he's talking about stuff where like, I mean, brutal stuff, like people being impaled on spears and chucked off somewhere, and then arms getting ripped off and then regrowing and it happening again. There was no, he said there's also no companionship. Even though there are people literally crammed together, there's no companionship because everyone is so overwhelmed of their own pain and their own misery. And that also when he was falling into this pit, everything that he realized that everything in this world that is good, that we take for granted, is from God. It is a gift from God, aka like companionship. God is not in hell. So hell is devoid of God, right? It's the one place that God is not. So imagine everything in existence without God in it. That's what hell is in terms of what you feel. And he said that there was no companionship. There was no hope. There was no like, you know how you like drink water and you're like, oh, it feels good. Or even when you take a pee and it's like relieving. There was none of that. Like no relief, nothing that was good. There was no love. There was no light. He said the darkness was so dark that you could feel it. Like it was almost like the darkness was alive. And it's also like having energy. Like just the fact of like, having energy to go do things. That's a gift from God. Yeah. It was gone. Yeah. So it's almost like you were like weighted down. Like you couldn't move barely. Like he's like, imagine being exhausted, like being sick and having exhaustion and also doing a workout and like you can barely get out of bed. That's how it is all the time.
So just remember to thank Jesus for all he's given us.
Yeah.
We have a lot more to be thankful than we think.
Yeah.
So what's insane is on the flip side of this coin with the heaven experiences is there are people that are talking about things that are impossible to know. So for example, there's this one story that really gave me a lot of like comfort. And it was of this girl. She had died, or she was a 5-year-old girl. She's in the children's hospital, and her dad is a pastor. And they're trying to figure out what's going on with her. Can't figure out what's going on. She ends up passing away, and she leaves her body, and she goes up to heaven. And one of the things that one of the things that she experiences is the first person she meets is a little girl. And this little girl comes up to her and is telling her, hey, my name's this, and I'm so glad you're here. And they were playing together, and they were with Jesus, and she knew instantly who Jesus was. Like, everybody instantly knows who everyone is. So when you get up there, like, it'd be like you're in a big family immediately. It's almost like you've known people your whole life. And she instantly knew who Jesus was, and she instantly knew who the girl was. And the girl was a child that was miscarried by the pastor's wife before she was born. They had already named her and everything, and she was a miscarriage.
Wow.
And so she told the pastor, she said, tell mom and dad that I'm waiting for him.
Wow.
Just amazing, right? And so, and the little girl goes back and is playing with Jesus, and they're all just following him around, And the girl ends up, later on, she goes and experiences a bunch of different things, and she's sitting with Jesus, and Jesus has her, I think on his lap or sitting next to her, and she can hear her dad's voice, like just hear her dad's voice, audibly hear it. And she's looking down, and she's like almost like looking like from above, like in a movie, and you're like looking down and you see the scene playing out, and she can see her dad is in a closet in the hospital. And he's like in this janitor's closet, and he's in the hospital, and she can hear everything he's saying. And Jesus is sitting there with her, and they're both listening to her dad together. And he is screaming at God.
Wow.
Just screaming at God in anger and disbelief about how he's a pastor and how could God take away his little girl, how God could take his child, why this is happening to him, and just screaming at him. And what's crazy is that Jesus is standing there listening to this prayer and not getting angry, not having a reaction. And what was super comforting to me is knowing that I've had prayers like that. I've had prayers where I'm angry and I'm literally just looking for a reason as to why this is happening or why I'm in this situation and all this stuff. And I've literally prayed prayers like that. And then I'm like, I have to apologize because I'm like, well, maybe you're not even hear anything, and it's like those prayers are being heard because they're genuine.
Yeah.
Like they're making it to heaven, and God is hearing that. And what's really cool is that Jesus looks at the girl and says, your dad really needs you right now. And he sends her back, and she's still alive. She tells a story and tells him about the miscarried daughter, her sister that she never had. And they're like, how do you even know about that? We've never even told you about that. She tells her dad, why were you crying in the closet? Like all these crazy things that were just affirmations of that experience being so supernatural and real. And what was comforting about listening to the near-death experiences episode on Sean Ryan, even the one that was a hellish experience, is for my whole life, I've always had a fear of death. Like I've always been afraid of it. Even if I said I wasn't, in the back of my mind, there's a little inkling of like, I'm kind of feel like I'm scared of death. Like I'm scared of running out of time. I'm scared of dying, And then I also had this fear of going to hell. Like I need to have a relationship with God. I need to be a Christian so I don't go to hell, because hell sounds terrible. I'm scared of hell. I don't want to go there. And I don't want to die because I'm scared of hell. Right? That's the big reason.
Yeah.
But for the first time, I would say honestly, this year, with Roy's testimony and God getting a hold of me through Roy and through Seth and through their experience, I have finally understood truly, really, not just knowing I've God, but I now understand what it's like to have a relationship with Jesus for the first time. And I was raised in the church.
Well, remember, it wasn't through Roy or myself.
Correct. It was
Jesus.
Jesus
coming
through your guys' testimony. And
he found you.
He established that relationship with me, utilizing you guys as a tool. And for the first time, and I'm telling you, like, I'm a Christian, I've been a Christian my whole life, went to church my whole life, have all my testimonies. I pray for people and all this stuff. I read the Bible, do Bible studies and all this stuff. But I'm telling you, this year, for the first time, I have a relationship with Jesus. Like, it's real, and it is so real. And for the first time in my whole life, I hear about these hellish experience stories and stuff like that. I have no fear of death. And I can truthfully say that now. Like, I can legitimately say I have no fear of death. In fact, I kind of look forward to going home. Like, I really do, like, just look forward. I'm excited about it. And like I said, I'm a lifelong Christian, you know, like, I don't know if I would have died when I was living in my sin and gone to heaven. I probably would have been that guy that Jesus says, I don't know who you are. And I would be like, but I went to Bible studies. I did this.
God, it's me, Eric.
It's me, Eric. And I would have been that guy. And when I've literally, like, I don't even think about hell at all. Like, I don't even think about, there's not just like, I'm not afraid of going to hell. I don't even think about it. Like, it's not even like a thing I have to worry about. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing that I look at that hellish experience of is when I was listening to that story, I was in my mind, I'm like, man, I don't want anybody I know to go there.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine anybody that I know, anybody that I love, anybody that I care about. Like, I can't imagine them going there. Like, it would break my heart to have people that I know go there. Especially break my heart if I have the ability to tell them about it and be that opportunity for Jesus to establish that relationship with somebody. So, like, it was, dude, I'm telling you, I listened to that near-death experience, both of those, the hellish one and the one with Sean Ryan. I listened to those probably like 14 times total when I was gone on this trip, and I just could not stop listening to it. It was so fascinating, and it was so encouraging to know that that stuff is real, and to know that Jesus is listening to us whenever we're having a hard time, and that also there's a point where this one guy, he was dealing with something with, I think it was like he was dealing with something with abuse or something like that. And God is standing with him doing a life review, right? And he's reviewing some very painful things in his life. And as he's doing the life review, in the life review, he can see Jesus in that moment sitting next to him as a child, crying with him. Like, we feel like we do that stuff on our own. And he is seeing, like a movie, seeing himself as a child crying and hurt, and Jesus sitting next to him crying with him. Like, there's so much comfort in knowing that. Not just, I feel like we have this picture in our minds that, like, I know I have, like, Jesus is the anti-fun police, you know, like, hey, quit it out, quit doing that. Or, like, come on, stop being so sad. Like, I'm going to make you better anyways. You know what I'm saying? He's not doing that. He's not condemning us or looking down upon us or calling us silly because he's going to come heal us or take us out of this situation anyways. He is literally there with you, going through that emotion with you in that time that you're having that hard time, that stress and that anxiety, and he's there brokenhearted with you. And I thought that was so fascinating. Like, it goes to show the bounds of how much Jesus' love is for us and how much he continuously tries to connect with us. And he loves us so much that he's never going to force you to be with him forever. He loves you so much to respect your free will. He loves you enough to not try to force you into his presence.
Yeah.
You know, like, kind of like that. Yeah. If I told my wife, like, you know, it wouldn't be a true marriage of love if you're given to me as my wife and you're forced to marry me and, you know, love me. That's not a true marriage in love, right? We have both willingly given our lives to each other, to be with each other, to be as one. And that is what Jesus desires. He desires that oneness and that relationship. And I think, you know, in some of the other life reviews that these other guys were telling in their testimonies, And one thing that stuck out to me that these people commonly said is they, in these life reviews, were able to see how little time they actually spent with Jesus. Like, I look back at my life, just reflecting on my own capacity, and I'm like, I would, if Jesus was sitting at the table and I was gone for 24 hours a day and he's sitting here waiting eagerly, kind of like my kids do, like waiting for me to get home, and I pop in one time in a 24-hour period, like, hey, what's up? Thanks for this food. All right, I'll see you later, and then leave. And it's like, what kind of relationship is that? And that's why I'm like, I did not understand. Like, I never had a relationship, really. I really didn't. It's until this year that now I'm like, I can't get enough of it. I want to spend as much time as I can with him now. Like, I truly understand what it is to love who he is and love him and have that relationship like a father and a son. To where now if I'm having a bad day, it's usually because I've let the world and work and things and tasks of this life get in the way, and I prioritize that over praying. Like this morning, I was coming in, had to get my phone updated, so I didn't have my phone in the car, so I couldn't listen to a podcast, and I prayed from when I left my house to work, and I can't remember the time, and I cannot remember when I've done that before. I can't remember praying the entire car ride there to work and into the studio. And it was so refreshing, dude. Like, I got here super excited, like ready to go, couldn't wait to talk to people, like ready to interact. And there is power in that it's not for you to follow these rules to knock out this criteria. When you have a relationship, it literally is helpful to your attitude for the day. It makes you happy. Like, it gives you joy that you shouldn't even probably have. Cause like, I mean, we're going through a stressful time with Barrel Hatchet, like in our personal lives, we're going through all stressful time. Where's this joy coming from? It physically doesn't make sense. Going through bad situations, going through hard times, have stress. Going through hard situations, bad times, be upset and angry and stressed out and in a wreck, right? That's the physical, normal, natural reaction you should have to that. But having hard times and bad things, happy. Like, that doesn't make sense. What's the caveat? Like, what's the catch? It's Jesus. That's the relationship with him. It's prayer. That's him taking that stress that naturally I should have and plucking it out of my life and be like, here, I'll swap you. Here, trade me cards. And he swaps it out for joy. And so that's how I'm able to now look at these situations that are harder than I've ever had to go through, but going and approaching it with joy because I know that Jesus has that situation already handled. In fact, I just we traded baseball cards. I'll take yours, you take mine. And so, man, I highly encourage you, if you're listening, and for all of us at the table, if you haven't listened to those two things, the Sean Ryan podcast with that interview about the near-death experiences, it is so uplifting and so encouraging in the way that through these real experiences that are medically documented, it's evidences to continuously prove that Jesus is there, that your prayers work, that it's real and that he is listening and he does care and he cares more than anybody else in the world. And so I will warn you, once you have this relationship like I have, everything else in this world feels kind of hollow. Like, it feels kind of like
hollow.
Very hollow, like, whatever. Like,
it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Like, and so at this point, I'm excited for Barrel and Hatchet to continue going on so we can pay the bills personally, so I can continue doing what that we're doing, spreading the gospel and talking about the Lord and divulging the gift of just peace and salvation and saving, and it'll change your life on these platforms, like, and in class. And so I've rambled a lot, but what are your thoughts?
That was truly inspiring. Yeah. Like, you just inspired me. Like, that's pretty crazy with your testimony about just in the last year that you really truly understood what that means.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are like that are just kind of going through the motions, just checking the boxes.
Yeah.
But when you have that experience, you want to do all that stuff. You want to be intentional about spending the time. It's It's just like your wife or best friend. Like, you enjoy that best friend, so you're going to cut out time to be with that best friend.
I feel like I'm on my honeymoon right now. Like, I feel like I want that relationship with Jesus to stay that way. I want it to be in the honeymoon phase forever. It's like when I first met Sammy, and I would go to work, and I was counting down the hours until I could get home and go hang out with her. Like, that's how I feel. And that's the type of relationship that I want. Whereas before, if I even call it a relationship, what I had was, all right, let me check this box real quick. Let's set a timer. All right, 30 minutes. You get 30 minutes, God. I'm going to go ahead and read your Bible, and then I got to go to do some other things, right? And then this message just came in. I have to answer this. And leaving that. And so there's a flip that's happened. There is a change. I'm thankful for the mercy that God has given me to finally establish that connection where I can't get enough of it. And I literally cry about everything. It's really annoying. Anything when it comes to Jesus and relationship and talking about God, I literally am like a flipping, a shower constantly leaking water.
It's personal.
Yeah.
It's personal to you. It's touched you in a way that it's never touched you before, which is why.
Yeah.
And no, that's absolutely inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't inspire me, but like through Jesus, through the Holy Spirit, through the work of God, is inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone should do that. Now listening to that, I feel like I need to be spending more time with the Lord in the morning. Like
you absolutely do, Chris.
And I do. I do spend time. I specifically wake up early so that I can read my Bible and pray. But it's just like, am I just going to give God, the Lord Jesus, just that time as like a standard?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. The gentleman from one of the near-death experience videos, the one who's now a pastor, he said, he's like, you really should write it down. Write down, just to see throughout a day how much time you give to the Lord, and really ask yourself, this is the person I want to spend eternity with, but I only gave him an hour.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I
challenging but encouraging.
Yeah, yes. It was awesome. And
that's why you should try and include Christ in everything you do. Every decision, every thought, really. No different than, how many times you think about your wife or your kids,
Yeah. So, one of the things I wanted to read, and I think that we've talked about it on the podcast before, is not putting out things that cause people to stumble, right? And I'm putting this out here just so it's accountability for me, for everybody here on the internet can keep me accountable, but I actually stopped drinking. And so that's been a big deal for me. And it's not something that I condemn. It's just something that, like, I know for myself, I have a hard time with controlling that. Right. And so I've put down drinking, and obviously nicotine. But I am working through that process because I want to continuously do what's right before the Lord. I want to continuously sanctify myself to be presentable to Him and to be honoring to Him, just like I would want to be honoring to my wife, right? And when we put information out on here and we talk about the gospel and we talk about things, I want to make sure that we're doing it correctly and we're also not putting out false teachings, right? And so one of the things that, as far as like people say, well, what type of attitude should I have? And I literally feel like, I remember when I was, talking to my kids about Jesus, and I was talking to my daughter about some things, and the way that she answers about God, it's so matter of fact. Like, yeah, God takes care of that. Like, it's not even a question. It's just an assumed, it's already a known fact, right? And so in Matthew chapter 18, at that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And he called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, and whoever welcomes such child in my name welcomes me." And so And here's where else it causes. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the ocean. Woe to the world because of things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. If your hand or your foot cause you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life maimed and crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and to be thrown into eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into the fire of hell. And I think that portion at the end, not literally saying cut off your hands and your feet, but do things, take things out of your life that cause temptation. And that's like, well, for me, I just took that temptation of alcohol out of my life. It's just something that I've struggled with. And so, but the other thing that sticks out to me is like causing people to stumble, causing people to fall away from the faith, causing people to disregard that prompting of Jesus to try and knock on their heart. And I can't even imagine like the children who also are being indoctrinated from a young age. That's very rampant in our society today of trying to, it's so important for them. Why is it so important for them to be able to get into kids programs and to get into children's books? And you know what I'm saying? Like, why is that such a drive for that those people? And it's like, because they know, like, you get them while they're young, they're innocent, they're moldable, right? And so Jesus says, like, it is woe to those people, or woe to those people who are in the church that are teaching false things, right? Or the supposed church. And so that's why I think that for me, one of the things you were talking about, waking up early and praying and reading, for me, something that has been big is I realize that if I've gone and I just pray and I don't read, it's good, but it's not rich. Like, it's not like a fulfilling day. It's almost like didn't get a full meal.
Right.
And if I read but don't pray, it's like, well, I read this story and stuff like that, and it's like there's no connection there, right?
That's a good point.
So having the combination of the prayer and the reading together, that's when you start to have that impact, and you start to be like, wow, I feel like this is literally directly for me. Like, I feel like me reading what I'm reading right now, my natural devotion, I feel like the words are jumping off at the page. Or, Seth Cummins and said something to me that he had on his heart, and that just literally directly correlated to what I'm going through right now.
Well, it's funny. It was explained to me, and it made so much more sense once I heard it. But Scripture, the more you read, it's important to read because that's the language of God. And you're not going to hear God. You're not going to understand what He's trying to tell you if you're not reading Scripture.
Yeah.
If you're not educating yourself and you're not seeing in the way that God communicates, how are you supposed to communicate?
Yeah. Amen.
Not that He can't. It's just,
Well, yeah, Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice. They recognize I'm the shepherd. They recognize my voice."
Yeah.
And so as Christians, as you're reading, you're understanding the character of Jesus, but you're also understanding the character of God, right? And you begin to recognize how He works personally in your life, but in other people's lives.
Exactly.
And I think what you're talking about too, and then taking it to a next level, I think worship does that very well. There's like a special feeling that you get almost with your experience at the retreat with worship. It could be in a rundown, shack or church or whatever, but you feel the Holy Spirit in worship. And it's kind of like what you're talking about with reading and praying, but I also feel that in like a different special way with worship.
100%.
It's like it's a form of like warfare, spiritual warfare too, but it's like there's something special about giving praise to God and receiving and just getting a download of how much He loves you and cares about you as a result of that worship experience.
It's usually when I start crying.
Me too. Yeah. And I will. Yeah,
I just start weeping.
Right. Yeah. Because it's just I get this overwhelming feeling that God is just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So loving. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just that can't be replicated.
No, it can't. And it's crazy. It's like I can listen to the same song. Like right now, one of my favorite songs I'm listening to is "In Christ Alone."
That's a good one.
And there's those old hymnals are awesome. And I'll listen to it throughout the day. But when I do it with my set aside time before God and I'm praying and I'm reading the Bible and the same song comes on and it causes me to weep. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just that connection point of God just outpouring his love on you. And it's not like worship, like, worship me and bow before like a statue or something. Like it's literally, you want to do it. Just like I gave my wife praises and, when all the time when she comes out of the bedroom and is prettied up for church or something like that, I'm like, wow, like you just want to say like, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous. Like just give her those praises. You just naturally want to do that because you have that relationship connection. And that's something that like I've had on my heart when I was out of the state is I want God to use Barrel and Hatchet, because what I don't want, and something that I've told Seth and Roy, and is that I don't want to receive my reward for what we're doing about being vocal about the gospel. I don't want to receive that from man. I don't want to receive it from. I want to receive that from God. Like I want we get these testimonies that come in, and it's just so encouraging to see God working. We're just being obedient. We're just talking about it. But it is God who is working in people's lives, not us. Like, we're just getting to witness this, right? And so one of the things that I feel like has been on my heart has been us hosting a men's retreat and essentially bringing what happened with Seth and Roy and their experience at that men's retreat in Georgia, but bringing that Barrel and Hatchet, hosting that, where there would be, some training. It'd probably be most likely a donation base. So like, people do not have to pay to go. I know that funds are hard, but anything that's donated allows this to happen, right? It allows this to also fund the next men's retreat. But I want it to be a very continuous thing where we are having these retreats, because I feel like there's so many men who are right there like I was, like, I pray, I'm a Christian like this, but they haven't experienced the relationship part. Like they have never... It's like I know, somebody at our shooting group with Open Gym, and I or them. Yeah, we've talked a little bit, but then when I finally get to intimately know who they are, there's a difference, right? There's a relationship connection, and that's what this men retreat I feel like is going to do for people, where God has the opportunity to connect with these men through the word and through fellowship, and all, we'll get training and stuff like that in there. Like we're talking about firearms training. There's a survival specialist that we want to bring in to help do a survival portion of the class, medical training. But I want God to be able to connect with men in this community, because I feel like there's so many men who are lost, like I was, that had the religion but didn't have the relationship. And like I said, I've been going 34 years old now, and this is the first few months I've had this relationship ever in my first time in my life. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, let us know. Get a hold of us. We're looking for a venue. Need a place to be able to host it at. It'd be a camping thing, so you essentially pitch a tent, and we would have food and stuff like that provided. We're still working out the details, but if you would be interested in something like that, let us know. Chris will be there to flex.
The email address.
Yes, team@barrelandhatchet.com. Team@barrelandhatchet.com, or you can DM us on Instagram or comment on the video here on YouTube. On Spotify, you'd have to email us, but get a hold of us in some way, form, or fashion to let us know. With that being said, any final words, gentlemen?
Powerful testimony.
Thanks.
Awesome. I'm happy for you. I'm truly happy for you. And you've inspired me.
Yeah.
I don't just say that.
I think Chris, that's the first time you've ever said that. We've known each other for 3 years.
Yeah, no, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
You've challenged me to grow deeper in that, because it is important. It is the best use of your time that you could possibly have. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening.
My pleasure, my treasure. Also, shameless plug. My wife's farm, it's called Oliver Heritage Farms. It's in Dover.
Bendover?
No.
Dover.
Dover.
Ben Gay. It's in Dover, Florida, and it's a local storefront, so they do all local meats, eggs, chickens, grass-fed beef, grass-finished beef. So hit them up. Cheese.
Lots of cheese.
Seth loves a good cheese.
I do.
You can order online, too, so great local business if you ever want to support them. she's the manager there, and appreciate the support. And you'll get great products. So just a plug for them.
The steaks there are insane.
Yes.
Another level.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
All 5-star reviews here, right?
that's right. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Yeah, the farm is. I mean, I think it's super important these days, especially supporting local businesses and especially local businesses that provide you food without a bunch of stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know where it's coming from.
Exactly.
It's all local.
Yep.
Amen.
So
Any last words, Seth?
Yes, I would say for those out there listening, don't ever feel like what you're going through, that you're alone. You don't feel like you're the only one going through it. You know, we all have things that we go through. The important thing is to find that relationship with Jesus, with God, and turn to him. But also turn to your brothers in Christ. You know, they'll help you through. They'll pray for you. So just know you're not alone.
And if you don't have any brothers in Christ, send us an email or DM us or something. We did a prayer request post prior to this, and we did a prayer meeting before the podcast, and I think in total it was over like 200 prayer requests on YouTube, IG, X, all combined. So overwhelming. If you are a believer, my challenge to you is don't be a closet Christian. Be bold. Be excited.
Have zeal for the Lord.
Yeah, just be super. Like if you found something new and awesome and you're like, dude, you got to check this out. Like it'd be the same way when you have that relationship with God. And that's how, I've recently been feeling of just like, I got to tell everybody, like, this is amazing. I want everybody to feel this way. And also encourage your family, be the leader in your family, the spiritual leader as well. And tell somebody else about the Lord. And if you are curious about who the Lord is and interested about this whole Bible thing and what that relationship looks like and what it's like to receive love from a loving God that truly cares about who you are individually, let us know. And we will, we'll talk with you. We'll pray with you. And, we'd love to hear from you.
Don't wait another second.
That's right.
Don't wait another second.
That's right.
That's right.
Hey, don't forget to say bye to Rudy.
See ya. See ya, Reaper Rudy. I know you're listening.
Reaper Rudy. That's right. Yeah. We didn't say.
It's his new nickname because he always walks around with a hood on.
Oh, nice.
And he can also destroy you using his Muay Thai skills.
Yes.
Oh,
He
gosh.
could literally kill you.
But he's also a very nice guy.
He's also a very nice guy and a very good Christian man.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes.
So
We
he's a good
actually, Chris
example.
and I had lunch with him today.
Awesome.
Oh, wait, that's right. Chris
Oh, I
did.
had to bring that up. A little salt in the wound. But a little lemon juice for my paper cut.
As much
Appreciate it.
salt that was in the brisket sandwich.
Guys, if you would like to also, if you believe in what we're doing and you want to see us continue to do this, a great way to support this channel and to keep the channel alive so we can continue this ministry and continue what we're doing is go pick up something from the website. Anything is a huge support to us. Also, subscribe to any outlet that you're listening on. And also, if you are wanting training, sign up for us. We'd love to see you in class and train with you and have that fellowship with you as well. So, guys, make sure you go out, train to be the eternal asset, and we'll see you on the next one.